All right, guys, before we get started today, a big thank you to our partner, Microsoft Surface, celebrating 10 years of partnership with the NFL. As the official laptop, tablet, and sideline technology provider for the LA Chargers, Microsoft Surface provides players and coaches with the tools to succeed both on and off the field every day. Learn more about Surface at surface.com. And welcome into the final drive as the Chargers beat the Miami Dolphins 23-17 in Week 14. As always, joined by team reporter Hayley Elwood and senior writer Eric Smith. And guys, I think everybody's been waiting for this type of game from the Chargers. They were shorthanded on defense. They got it done. But I think, Hayley, most importantly, they got it done against a playoff caliber opponent. And sometimes you need to do something to actually believe that you can do it. And hopefully this starts a little bit of momentum for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, this is their first win, I believe, against a team with a winning record. Their first win against a team that you mentioned is in prime playoff contention. We talked about it last week. When you look at this two-game stretch, this was a big one considering the fact that the Dolphins are in the thick of the AFC wildcard race in that AFC East, and so a win against them with potential tiebreakers on the line would be huge, and it was. I think a lot of the conversation, it's not even a think, a lot of the conversation going into this game was about the quarterbacks, but I don't care about them at this point. This game was about the defense. This game was about the Chargers defense finding a way against a really, really prime offensive opponent that has been lighting it up all year. And we knew coming into this game, it's not hyperbole to say you don't have Derwin James, you don't have Bryce Callahan, you don't have Sebastian Joseph Day, and you're sitting there going, how the heck are you going to get this done against that Miami offense? But as Brandon Staley said last night, they were up for the challenge and they answered it. They answered that challenge, and it was very, very clear that they had a game plan that was solid defensively, that was executed nearly flawlessly. You had contributions from guys like Morgan Fox and Kyle Van Noy getting sacks, and we've talked a lot about who can help pick up that pressure and get that pressure. It was a full team defensive win in that regard, and not to slight the offense at all. There are some things to be said about their red zone production, but defensively, this is the game that's like, where has this defense been? You know, we've seen Travis Kelce and Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs light this unit up over the last few weeks, but to see them lock it down, you mentioned it, this is the type of performance, build off of it. Let's go. Like, we're in December, we're playing meaningful football right now. This team is. So this is what you want to see at this point. They, as they said, answered that challenge. Now, in my opinion, it's time to just keep it going and keep it rolling.
Yeah, Hayley, just to back you up here, Tua's numbers, 10 of 28, 145 yards and a touchdown. 60 of those 45 yards came on one play, and the Chargers allowed 17 points. 7 of those points came on a broken fumble recovery. The worst guy on the field, if you're the Chargers, got it and had nothing but green in front of them. Eric, you know, we'll get more into the defense, but what a difference Mike Williams and Keenan Allen on the field together for 4 quarters makes. Justin Herbert played really, really well. 39 of 51, 367 yards and a touchdown. And Mike, 6 for 116 and a touchdown. I'm not sure we really knew how healthy Mike was going to be coming into this one, and it didn't take long to know that he was ready to go.
Yeah, he was ready to go. He was such a big piece, and a needed piece and an added piece. I was doing some research on Friday, and I was like, okay, this is going to be, you know, Mike is coming back, Keenan will be back, and Josh Palmer will play. And I was trying to figure out when the last time the three of them were on the field together was, like, for a full game. And it hasn't happened this year. I mean, the last time they were all together to start a game was Week 1. Because even when Keenan came back in Week 7, Palmer did not play. And then Mike missed time, and it's just like been like such a shuffle between those three guys. And I think much like we saw like on the defensive side, like, you know, we were kind of waiting for this game, you know, waiting for them to show up. I had been waiting for the offense to kind of break out like this. I know it's only 23 points, but, you know, we talk about the red zone woes. This could have easily been a 40-17 game if the offense can just execute inside the 20. And that's kind of been a theme all year, and we'll have to like track that the rest of the way. But yeah, just having Mike and Keenan back, and Josh Palmer, it's so big for Justin Herbert. And I thought the play that really stood out was the 55-yard pass to Mike, because at that point Justin's just like, F it, I'm just gonna throw it up to Mike, and he's going to make a play. And that element has been missing from the Chargers offense probably most of the year. And so to have that back was huge. I thought it was probably one of the best offensive performances of the entire year. And again, that's only 23 points. You think, that if they scored 40 or something, we'd be talking about how great it was. But I think the offense left a lot out there, but also showed a lot. And much like Hayley said about the defense, like, let's go for them, I feel the same way about the offense. Like, let's go. I think this offense has a lot of potential in the final 4 games.
Hayley, I want to talk about just how what a complete game I guess this was for this team. And I think the offense really allowed this shorthanded defense to play at its best. The defense was only on the field for 20 minutes in this game. So I feel like that's such a huge thing. They had 29 more plays than Miami. So, yes, they could have cashed in the red zone a few more times and put up some more points. But the fact that they kept the ball away from Tua in this offense, and then once Tua in this offense was on the field, the Chargers defense really did its thing, man. I couldn't have been more impressed with just how they played team defense without some of these stars. We tend to forget that, all right, not only was Bryce and Sebastian and Derwin out, but you lose Austin Johnson a month ago. Joey hasn't been in this lineup. No J.C. Jackson. So these guys have really had to battle, and they put together their best defensive performance.
Yeah, they absolutely did. And I think when you mentioned the offense helping them out in terms of time of possession, look at that final drive in the fourth quarter that ended in a field goal. 17 plays, 8 minutes and 39 seconds. And at that point, it was tight.
17 plays.
17 plays. But like score-wise, it was tight. So you needed those 3. Those were a crucial 3. You would have loved, again, to cash in with 6, but the 3, you'll take the 3 at that point because you took a ridiculous amount of time off the clock. 17 plays, and that was, as I had tweeted, the Keenan Allen drive. He's getting, key conversions on third down, 18 yards on 2nd and 7. Just obviously that trust factor is there, and I think when you look at that, it is what you want, and again, as we've talked numerous times, they haven't played a lot together this year, but now maybe they're kind of hitting their stride, and maybe this is the time of year where you want to do that. But defensively, again, it was complete, and this is something that this team has talked about a lot, just wanting to play a complete game, wanting to have all sides complement each other. And I think you saw that last night. I think you saw the fact that the defense was just putting the pressure on the Dolphins. The Dolphins, I don't know what the heck was happening with them. I mean, I think you saw it in San Francisco the week prior, but just not accurate. But again, huge contributions from Michael Davis and Alohi Gilman and guys in the secondary who had a huge challenge, but made the most of it. But it all worked together. And Staley said they were tight, they were connected, and he said it's been hard because we've obviously had a lot of attrition throughout this season, and so at times it's been tough to find that. And it's kind of ironic that you say, oh, okay, well, you lose Derwin, Sebastian, and Bryce for this game, and yet they're tight. They're playing super connected together. But they did it, and they found a way. And I think at that point, like we mentioned it, when you look at both sides just kind of complimenting each other, that's what you want. And it hasn't happened many times this season, and sometimes you've sort of eked out these wins, but this was a game that you felt they were in control of for the most part, and certainly those long drives definitely helped supplement that defense as well.
Couple stats here, Eric, that stood out to me. Dolphins 3 of 11 on third down. The Chargers 9 of 18. I mentioned that the Chargers ran 29 more plays. They both had 11 drives each. And to Hayley's point, that was strange for me to see Tua play the way he did. 10 of 28, 127 yards. I was surprised that they didn't run the football as much as I thought they were going to run the football. But shoot, man, you give the Chargers credit. They had a game plan for Tua. They obviously have enough tape on him to see what Mike McDaniel has been doing with him all season long, and it sure paid off.
Yeah, I thought it was maybe one of the best defensive game plans of the season for the Chargers, obviously on defense. And I asked Alohi after the game, I said, was this sort of a statement game for you guys? Because, like you said, I I counted they were down, I think, 6 starters from what we thought they'd have in the preseason with, a bunch of big name guys. He said, yeah, but he's like, we kind of knew during the week that we were going to play well on Sunday. He said at practice on Wednesday, I guess it was a walkthrough, but he said guys were dancing around, like handshakes, like there was just a vibe coming from the team that sort of carried over through the week and carried over to Sunday for sure. If we're talking about guys who stepped up, I would throw Jasir Taylor into that mix for sure. I mean, he's getting his first start against like a high-flying Miami offense and just crushed it. I thought he did really well. Chris, you mentioned the third down, like 3 of 11. I tweeted this last night. I just want to read off these stats. Here's the third down that Miami faced last night. 3rd and 10, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 15, 11, 10, 14, 9, 5, 10, 19, and 3. So that's a lot of 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 and longer. And that's credit. And maybe like we talked about, the Dolphins should have ran the ball more to set up more favorable third down situations, but they didn't. And when you get a team into 3rd and long, more likely than not, it's going to favor the defense. And I know that Tyreek's touchdown catch was on 3rd and 5, but a great plan by the defense. Brandon Staley, he kind of took offense a little bit after the game and said, "Oh, you guys might have copied what the Niners did," and he kind of got mad and was like, "No, we kind of played our own system," and that was the corners on the outside pressing the wide receivers with some safety help, but just a really physical game plan. He said you can't play zone against this team because they're just too fast. And the guys are going to run through the zone and run down the field, and no one can keep up with Tyreek Hill. We saw that on the fumble recovery. So the best way to beat him is just jam him at the line, throw them off their timing. And I think that's what we saw because, I agree, Tua looked off all game. And even from the start, it was clear that he didn't have it. But I credit the Chargers for that. I credit the game plan. Staley, Ronaldo Hill, everyone on that defensive staff. I think they deserve a lot of credit.
Haley, I'm with you. I'm sick of the comparisons of Herbert and Tua.
I'm over it. I don't care.
Guys live, man. Let these guys both have good careers and, hopefully meet in the playoffs for multiple times throughout the course of their career.
Chris, you and I, we also both worked for the Lakers, and there's always basketball comparisons, who's the greatest, and I'm just so over it. Just let everyone just thrive. Sorry, it's almost Festivus, right? It's almost time to air grievances, but it's just one of those things. Let them do their things. Let them do it. We love Justin Herbert. We're super stoked he's the quarterback of the Chargers. Fantastic.
Yeah, and that's what we'll focus on. 39 of 51, 367 yards and a touchdown. The most passing yards through the first 3 seasons of an NFL career. I mean, I felt like Justin really had some emotion in this one. And yeah. I think when you know it's time to go in terms of you have to show the league that you're a contender, right? Throughout the course of the season, they have fallen short against playoff caliber teams. I really think that this win will breed confidence in the locker room. Doesn't mean anything if you don't beat the Titans on Sunday, but I really think that this sets up nicely for the Chargers to play Tennessee well. You did well against the run against the Dolphins, albeit they didn't run that much. Derrick Henry comes to town, and this is another playoff caliber opponent.
It is. This is, again, we've chunked this season out into games of pairs at times, and this is one of those 2-game pairs that is really, really critical in terms of your standing as the season rolls into the postseason. The Titans are a reeling team. I haven't paid enough attention to really figure out what's going on. I think they've had some defensive injuries. I think, if you take away Derrick Henry, they just don't have enough in the passing game that really is sustainable for them. Losing A.J. Brown, don't know what happened there a couple of weeks ago, but with their whole GM situation, but you still got to take care of business. You can't play down, and you can't just sort of let them waltz in and let Derrick Henry run all over you. I hope that this win breeds confidence. It should. And I want to see them keep it going. I want to see them rolling because you have an extremely favorable back end quarter of the schedule. After this Titans game, you have teams with losing records, and you have teams that are just pretty much out of it. And Look, I'm sure they'd love to play spoiler. I'm sure the Broncos in week 18 would love to play spoiler if they have the chance. So you can't give them that opportunity. You just have to put your foot on the gas. They are getting healthier. They are getting guys back. We don't know the status of Joey. Brandon Staley talked yesterday that, when he will return, when it happens, he's not sure yet, but he does look, good in individuals, which is some of the reports that some of those insiders had on their Sunday morning shows.
Yeah.
So maybe it's good. Obviously you're hitting things at the right time, but this is a winnable game against the Titans. I believe the Chargers are favored right now, but you have to go in with that same sort of energy and that same sort of execution to get it done and keep it rolling. The playoffs, they're in the playoffs right now. Like, their playoffs have started. Essentially, they started last week against Vegas. It didn't go great, but now you're keeping it going and you're keeping things rolling to hopefully finish this year strong.
Yeah, listen, you don't take anything for granted. I know the last three opponents, their seasons are over at this point. But it's the NFL, it's December, and these guys are playing. If you're not in the playoffs, you're playing for something, right? You're playing for a contract next year. You're playing for your job. Eric, one of the things that I'd like to see this Chargers team do starting against the Titans is give the ball to Joshua Kelly a little bit more. 4 carries, 29 yards. I think last week you started to see it, and this week you really saw it. Josh has some juice in the running game. And I realize that you control the clock for 40 minutes really by throwing the football. Justin threw it 51 times. But I think at some points throughout, December and potentially the playoffs, you're going to have to run the ball. And I do think Joshua is a real asset for this team.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not just saying that because I covered Josh in high school. JK is my guy. But yeah, I think you got to give him the ball more. And even with like the makeshift offensive line, like Ekeler is a great player, But I think if you're looking to go full steam ahead and run the ball, I think JK is probably the better option. I think we saw that on that 3rd and 1 where he just exploded through the hole for 22 yards, and it's like, man, this guy has some pop. He's healthy, he kind of missed some time with that knee injury. But yeah, I would agree with that for sure. I think he needs probably a little bit more touches. That's something we said in week 5, when he was kind of getting them, and then he got hurt. So now I think we've circled back to have the same conversation. If we're talking about things we want to see from the team, I would love to see a 3rd quarter touchdown, because that is just not happening. I mean, and we could have not put the game away, but just made it so much easier on ourselves.
It's so crazy.
Yesterday, again, if we just score early, we're up at half. If you come out and just get a touchdown after the half, it makes it so much easier on yourself. But we just can't do that. We haven't scored a 3rd quarter touchdown now since I think week 6.
Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't even know where we were in week 6. That was a long time ago. But that is a sore spot. I think if we talk about areas where we can improve, to me, yesterday was the best win of the season for the Chargers. But scoring in the 3rd quarter, scoring a touchdown in the 3rd quarter, and then we have to be better in the red zone and goal-to-go situations. I mean, I kind of agree with what Hayley said. This was a great win, but now it's okay, what's next for this team? You have to keep going, because you can't have a big win and then have a letdown, and then you're kind of back where you were, and you're just keep fighting this uphill battle. It's time to go. And just got to keep going.
I think we all have Houston PTSD from last year still towards the end of the season with that loss. And again, we talk about it. There were a lot of factors that contributed to the loss in that game, but it should have never happened when Justin Herbert is still healthy and was your quarterback. So I think again, there's PTSD there. There's a freak out of, please don't do that again in this last chunk.
Yeah, it's it needs to be a 180 from last December. The teams who typically do well in the playoffs are peaking and ascending in December, and this is an opportunity for the Chargers to do just that. This is not. I don't think this is a win where you're celebrating. This is a win that gives you confidence so you can get to the next one and get to the postseason. So Tennessee on deck on Sunday. That's going to be a tough game. The Titans, especially the way that they've been playing, they had not been playing very well the last 2 to 3 weeks. So they're going to want to try to get right. The AFC South, it looks like they still have the inside track to get that division title. But with Jacksonville beating them on Sunday, you don't want to get too comfortable. So I know Mike Vrabel and company, Hayley, they're going to bring it on Sunday.
Yeah, they absolutely will. I mean, just Derrick Henry alone in the rushing attack. And we've seen at times him be contained this season. And I know he had an insane first half yesterday. He finished still with over 100 rushing yards, but it obviously starts with him, and he's a huge focal point. But I don't doubt, just knowing Mike Vrabel's short time in this league already as a head coach and just how fiery he is, I mean, I don't doubt that they're going to try to get right. I mean, they don't want to. They have their division. They are so lucky to be in the AFC South, because in any other division, this probably wouldn't fly.
How about the South? How about
not
the
South?
NFC,
not the NFC South.
Or they could be in the NFC South, but the South in general, the South, the Easts of the NFL is also a crazy situation right now. But I have full faith that the Titans are going to bring it. But again, you just have to rise to the challenge. They check the box this week. You got to do it again next week.
Yep. Guys, final thoughts as we get out of here. Obviously, you got Tennessee, and then the Colts, Monday Night Football, the Rams and Baker Mayfield, New Year's Day, and then you close with the Broncos. We talked a little bit about Tennessee, but Eric, anything that you noticed last night or want to address as we get out of here?
Yeah, so I think we've talked a lot about, on this podcast about the potential of the team, right? And how we've kind of just been searching for that all year. I think last night was a glimpse of it. I'm not saying it was the whole thing, but I think it was a big step in the right direction. I saw some tweet before we hopped on with it, the Chargers increased their playoff chances by almost 30% with last night's win. So it was a great step forward. But to me, there's still just a little bit or a lot more out there that the team can find. And that's why I think yesterday was so big, because we needed that to kind of, move ourselves in the right direction. But keep going, keep going. I think that's what we've all kind of talked about. Keep going. Right? This is the time to peak. If guys keep coming back and we continue to kind of get healthier as we go, play our best ball down the stretch. If the Chargers can get in, I think they could be a team that maybe no one wants to see. Now, there's a long way to go before we get there, but the path is clear for this team. Keep getting better, keep getting healthier, and just start peaking in the final four games.
Hayley, I'll get your final thoughts too, and I'll just we talk about the injuries, and you mentioned these reports where hopefully you start to get guys back in December at some point. I think yesterday kind of put in perspective just how many guys they've lost, especially on defense. I mean, we're not even talking about guys like Austin Johnson and J.C. Jackson.
Yeah.
So for the way that they played on defense, Asante Samuel said, we heard it all week that we didn't have a shot. And I said, who'd you hear from? He goes, friends, family, he goes, no one gave us a shot, so we gave ourselves a shot. So, that motivation, sometimes you don't know if it's real or not, but I really truly think that it made these guys really connected.
Hey, Asante, you don't have to buy them Christmas presents, dude. It's okay.
Yeah. Yep, eat your words.
Yeah. No, it was a complete effort. And like I said earlier, it's so funny when you lose someone you don't have someone like Derwin James for this game, who, as we all know, is the heart and soul of this defense and many times of this team as well. It's weird that they almost flipped a switch. And from the get-go, from that first Alohi PBU, it was they're out of the gate. They're ready to do this. And they did the entire game. But it is a testament, I think, to some of these other guys and just sort of finding a way. And we've seen them sort of have these peaks and valleys throughout the season. We've talked about, at the beginning of the year, they lost some guys and then they went on that little bit of a run before the Seattle game. And it was okay, maybe they needed to sort of face this attrition early. Plot twist, it keeps coming, because why shouldn't it stop at some point, unfortunately? But they found a way. And so at this point in the year, This was a critical game because if you lose this game, you dip below 500, your playoff chances keep getting lower and lower, and you feel defeated. But the flip side of it is you get a win, you beat a good team, and you have that confidence. And we've said multiple times in many different ways, you just have to keep it going. But I do think you make a great point that with all the attrition that they've faced, somehow they found a way to come together and get it done, and it was really commendable.
As we take this, the Chargers would be the 7th seed in the AFC playoffs going to Kansas City. The Jets are 7-6. They have the Lions, I believe, this Sunday. The Patriots play on Monday night against the Cardinals. So you talked about the Easts, right? The NFC East and the AFC East. The Patriots and the Jets are the two teams. It looks like I looked at Cincinnati's been on a tear. Like Cincinnati,
they're 9-4.
They may win the North with Lamar Jackson's injuries, and both Baltimore and Cincinnati are 9-4. Chargers got a ton of help too with the Raiders losing on Thursday, thanks to Baker. The Jags are 5-8. Cleveland losing to Cincinnati, 5-8. Pittsburgh, who I thought was rolling and had the potential to win out, lose to the Ravens. They dropped to 5-8. So a lot of things went your way on Sunday. And then, you'll see what happens with the Patriots and Cardinals. So, guys, it's fun to do this podcast when they win, right? I'm sure fans enjoy it a little bit more too when we're talking about wins, Hayley.
Yep. I think the comments will be much more pleasant this week versus last week.
Don't read the comments.
Don't read the comments, but just
Don't
saying.
read the comments.
Hi guys, thanks for your engagement.
But all that said, we always appreciate you guys watching and listening to The Final Drive. For Eric Smith and Hayley Elwood, I'm Chris Hayre. We'll see you next time.